Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 108 of Paranormal NL Podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Pocket Casts. I'm your host, Jen. For tonight's show, let's give a shout out to who introduced me to tonight's guest. A big shout out to Samantha Pearl from Four Moon Witchery in Newfoundland and Labrador, who was on PNL Podcast Season 2, Episode 100. Let's send out some hugs to everyone again around the globe dealing with the summer fires, earthquakes, and hurricanes. Now it's time to pull up that cozy chair and a nice cold one and listen in to your favorite podcast, Paranormal NL Podcast. It's a place where the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, and anywhere else in the world can share their paranormal experiences. P&L Podcast also believes in supporting people, places, and things to promote paranormal tourism and paranormal networking all over the world. A big thank you again to all the P&L Podcast alumni guests from Season 1 and 2, and of course our fans. We want to hear your stories. Do you have any paranormal, metaphysical, UFO, cryptid creatures, folklore, historical, or tales of the weird you'd like to share as a guest on my P&L Podcast? Please reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or Gmail. After your episode, you'll become part of the P&L Podcast Alumni Network. And don't forget, you can also share your stories anonymously, and you can also watch and listen with your smart TV for free on that Spotify app. And make sure you click on the Spotify bell or subscribe or follow along with whatever you're listening to and get updates for new episodes. Head on over to Facebook and join our group, Paranormal NL Podcast Group. We'd love to see you there. Find upcoming new P&L episodes of the featured section of the group. We're listening to our fans. P&L is now on Instagram, and P&L also now has a Facebook page for Instagram Reel Drops for fans who are not on Instagram. Paranormal NL Podcast is coming soon to YouTube with Season 1 of 2023 and Season 2 of 2024 via audio, and coming soon via StreamYard video episodes being uploaded. Also, stay tuned for a new branch of Paranormal NL Podcast with the BOG team, a boots-on-the-ground paranormal investigation team doing investigations in Newfoundland. Our fans asked our Paranormal NL Podcast merch, and the new P&L BOG team merch is now available on TeePublic. And that's with lots of different swag and logo items that people asked for to choose from, like handbags and cell phones and covers and all that good stuff. You can also find on there with those two items, they were designed by our own Newfoundland celebrity and graphic design artist, Robert Dumont from Newfoundland. And Robert was on P&L Podcast Season 1, Episode 28. Also, Jason Lassiter from Get That Ghost in Tennessee, who was on P&L Podcast Season 2, Episode 29. He also made 2 logos for Paranormal NL. And last but not least, Kyle Callahan Photography from Newfoundland, who was on P&L Podcast Season 2, Episode 30, also created a P&L logo for us that you can find on TeePublic and make any kind of merch with it that you want. Now, let's get on with the show. I'm going to add on the StreamYard stage tonight. I have Rose Martin. She's coming in from East Coast, Newfoundland and Labrador with Salty Sea Witchery. Welcome, Rose.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show tonight. And we had to give a big shout out, of course, to Samantha Pearl again from Four Moon Witchery.
Absolutely, she's lovely.
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. So tell us more about, I see your logo here. I love it. Salty Sea Witchery. You know us in Newfoundland and Labrador, we love a good salty sea, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Tell us more about the inception of it, your name of your company and whatnot.
Of it. Well, I started Salty Sea Witchery. I mean, technically, I created the page like a year before I actually started using it because I was scared. Because who wouldn't be nervous about starting to read for people that you don't know? But like, I created it early 2020 because people kept telling me that I should. And then I didn't actually start advertising it until just before 2021, like in
That's right
November,
before
December.
COVID. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right around COVID.
Yeah.
So I took my first client in April 2021 for the actual business. And the way it ended up getting created was I had Amanda from the Natural Emporium tell me that I should be doing readings for money. I was told by my therapist at the time that I should be doing readings for money.
We have to give a shout out to Amanda at Natural Emporium. I love,
Absolutely. She's wonderful.
absolutely love her shop. Everybody listening, go to Churchill Park. You know where Pitbull was, and you know where Shania Twain is coming, and you also know where Nickelback was. Go there to Churchill Park. Go visit Amanda and her Natural Emporium. You won't be disappointed. She's awesome.
She is.
So yeah, and let's keep going. So she encouraged you and some other people.
Yeah, my therapist, probably some friends too. Like I had a friend from Scotland come and like live here with her partner, and my readings for them were always accurate. Like I even they're the type of people who don't really plan ahead very much. So they decided they were going to get married in a week.
Oh my goodness.
And I did a reading for them. Um, Probably a few days before, and I said that it wasn't going to go the way they planned it and that they're going to have to make adjustments. Lo and behold, the person who was supposed to, um, what's the word I want? The person that performs the ceremony canceled on them. And so then I had to stand in and do it.
Oh, good for you.
So um, I think my friend from Scotland was probably one of the first people to review my page and tell to everybody that I'm super accurate. Um, and Amanda always thought that I was super talented, and my husband is super supportive, even though he doesn't really understand it.
I have the
Uh,
same type of husband, very supportive.
Very supportive, don't really get it. So I eventually was just like, you know what? I might as well at least try. So I did. And another friend that was visiting my friend from Scotland actually came up with the name for me because I was trying to figure out a name and I just couldn't quite figure out what I wanted it to be, right? So I was
So she
trying
gave you the
to,
idea?
yeah, she basically said Salty Sea Witchery, right? And I was like, that is amazing.
Yes,
That
I
is
love it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Even Amanda agreed it was perfect.
It's
Because I was
very
actually,
Newfoundland, right? Because we're all about the water. We're an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and little tiny island. So, but let's back up even more. Tell me what got you into what you're doing, though.
what got me into what I'm doing? Oh,
Are you
goodness.
outside?
So,
Just if you don't mind me asking,
oh,
it
that
sounds a
is
bit
my
windy.
fan.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's hot
um,
here in Newfoundland and Labrador for us. We're not used to the weather, but the past 2 days have been a wee bit
yeah.
chilly.
Plus, I overheat all the time. So, I'm wearing headphones, a headset, so that I don't have to hold something with my hand or anything like that.
Right?
Plus, you might be hearing my cat screaming otherwise.
That's okay. I have 2 cats. They can talk to each other.
um, yeah, one of my cats is out here going, ah!
He's trying to tell us how you came about or, like,
Right.
got you into what you do.
I was kind of always into it. I just didn't really realize I was into it. Like when I was a child, I would pretend to be a witch and make potions. I would make new perfumes from different perfumes, and I was always really attracted to anything to do with witches. And it always annoyed me that they were always supposed to be quote unquote evil. Like, why can't a witch be a good witch?
That's right.
Right? They don't always have to be out to destroy the world.
Exactly. But is
Um,
there anybody else in your family who are gifted or?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, nobody really talks about it. I think I have an aunt that used to be interested in this kind of stuff, but she never really delved into it. So I am mostly a black sheep of my family, which, I mean, I'm not even really surprised at this point because I'm pretty sure I'm a generational curse breaker.
But tell us more about what you actually do. I mean, a lot of people don't understand, like, what is witchery?
Well, witchery in itself is kind of more of a spiritual lifestyle than anything. There are so many branches of it. I'm generally more general. I practice what I like to call eclectic sea witchery. An eclectic is basically you take things from uh, other practices and like use them for your own practice in your own way. But my main connection with nature is the ocean. Like I always feel at home in the ocean or near the ocean or at a beach. My favorite thing to do is to have my feet on the sand and in the water. It's basically life for me.
I love the beach too. I think everybody loves the beach. I haven't met anybody yet who don't love it, right?
hmm
So, is there certain types of things that you use more? Do you use like shells and beachy stuff like rocks and all that, or
I do collect a lot of sea glass and shell pieces, and I do have a lot of beach rocks. Um, I use them for crafts sometimes, and sometimes I'll use them in my spells. Um,
what
I
kind of
use them
divination do you do? Or,
divination.
or spells? Yeah.
Oh, spells, divination. I don't know. We do. Let's talk about all of it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So spells are kind of like as a kind of as needed type of thing. Although I do sell spell jars at my business at markets. Um,
And what's a
Therefore, all sorts of
spell jar
things.
for people who don't know? Like, Rose, what is a spell jar?
So a spell jar is basically a jar that you put components in that are related to your intention. And then after you've got the components put in, you can either write your intention down on a piece of paper or roll it up and put it in, or you can just put a stopper in it and then burn a candle on it so that the wax seals it. And I sell little mini ones that you can put on a necklace.
The candle or the spell jar?
Oh, the spell jar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I put all kinds of different things in them. I put lots of herbs in them. Sometimes I put incense, dust. Sometimes I put little mini crystal chips in them, depending on what the intention is. I started using selenite in them to keep them charged all the time. Um, I do write a little spell that I roll up and put inside. I use glitter because who wouldn't?
Everybody loves a good glitter. What's
I
your
love
favorite
using
color
glitter.
glitter?
Oh my god.
Ocean color.
It's probably either gonna be like it's holographic anything at this point.
Holographic?
Yeah, like it shifts all through all of the colors.
Ah, like rainbows.
Rainbows. That's my
Yeah.
jam.
Yeah, rainbows are good. What about other things that you might have? It sounds like, are you at the markets?
Yeah, I do some markets.
So if somebody was to go to your market table, what else might they find there?
So the way my market table is set up is I have the jewelry that I make on the left corner if you are facing the table. I I make a variety of necklaces and and bracelets and little stretch rings and just little things like that, generally out of either gemstone beads or pretty faceted beads or things that are the color of the ocean and stuff like that. Bracelets
So,
are pretty much made of anything I have.
so everything is kind of got an ocean vibe. I like that.
Yeah. Like whenever I try to tell somebody where my table is at, I'm just like, look for the blue one.
The blue one. Everything
Find the
blue.
blue one.
And how about, I know we mentioned divination. What about that? Did you want to say a few words about that, or?
I do lots of different divinations. I do tarot cards, I do oracle cards, I do charm casting, which you spoke to with Samantha
Yes.
on hers. I do tarot coins, which are 22 coins of the major arcana plus 2 blanks.
Okay.
I do witch runes. I do divination dice. I do pendulum. Am I missing anything? I don't think so.
And then the people who don't understand the coins, how do they work?
So the tarot coins are kind of cool. They're these they kind of remind me of like collectible coins. They're a bit bigger than the money, for example. Maybe they're bigger than a toonie, I would say. And each one has the symbol of one of the major arcana on it. And the way you use them is, well, the way I personally use them is I have this tray set up on that same side of the table as the jewelry, just behind it, behind the jewelry. And I'll take my tray and I'll put it in front of me and the client, and I will give them a container full of the tarot coins. It's generally like a shell plate that I have for display. And I'll tell them to think about what they want to know, or if it's general, just like think about what do I need to know. And I ask them to either throw them all in or throw as many as they want in. They can pick and choose how they like. They can take a handful and throw them in. It doesn't really matter. I just like to involve them in the process because I feel like it's more of a personal experience that way. And
Right.
it puts their energy into the tool. And I have this little mat in the tray that has these different general themes about life, like message from my ancestors or message about my love life or how I can find luck and stuff like that. So if we're using that mat, what I'll do is I will read the coins based on where they're landing. So I will focus on that theme in which they landed on. And whether or not I decide to read the ones that are face down really just depends on my intuition. Sometimes I'll take them all out and only read the ones that are face up, and sometimes I will read the ones that are face down.
Do you have any stories from people who've had their coins read and came back to you and said, "Hey, this or that happened," or?
I do have one client who came to me for a tarot coin reading some time ago. I think it was at least a year ago now. And she took all of the coins and put them in there, and I read the face down ones for her. And I don't remember the details of the reading at this point because it was so long ago, but I do know that as I was speaking, she was essentially confirming that everything I was saying had happened or was happening. So she was so impressed, she left me a 5-star review on Facebook and said that she wanted to bring her daughter back and do it with her as well. So I've yet to hear from her about that, but she has returned more than once.
Interesting. Yeah, that must be, the side, I guess, benefit of it when you do it is hearing the stories when people come back and telling you that, oh, this happened or that happened. Do you have any other things that you want to share about that? Of course, not divulging the person, but just the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had several experiences that were interesting. There was one girl who got a relationship reading, and I'm pretty sure I told her that it was gonna kind of end, and it was not gonna be pretty. And then I think it was the next day that she came back to me and said it happened exactly the way I said it was going to happen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which kind of sucks, but it's also good to know that she was prepared because
I
I had
was just
already
going to
told her.
say that. Yeah, she was ready for it. For sure, yeah. So she was totally ready for it. So there's all kinds of different things. Now, earlier you mentioned coven. Tell me more about covens, because I know people are like, "What?" For people who are not into the paranormal, what's a coven?
A coven is a group of witches, either female or male or both or whatever. Like it doesn't matter what you identify as. You're part of the coven regardless. They do spell work together. They don't do all of their spell work together necessarily. My specific coven tends to kind of do their own thing, but we all get together sometimes to do a group spell. I think we are meant to be making an oil at some point, like a business oil that will give us energy and be energizing and stuff. Haven't gotten around to that yet, but we've done like at least 2 spell jars together now.
So I know people get scared when you say the word spell. I mean, like you said, it's all about the intention, and everybody always think of witches as evil. There's always the dark witch, and then doing shadow work, but there's also light witches doing light work. So maybe you can explain the difference.
Between light and dark.
Well, yeah, because when people hear the words coven and witch and spell work, people get all scared, right? I mean, what would you say to them for them not to be scared?
Well, it all depends on the intention, right?
Right.
So I'm not going to lie and say there aren't things out there that don't do harm, because there are people who do that. There are also people who don't. Like, for example, the Wiccan religion is all about do no harm and do what you will, right?
Right.
So they believe that if you do harm intentionally through your spell work, it's going to come back to you 3 times because of karma.
Right.
I'm personally not a Wiccan, and I have hexed somebody before, but to be fair, they broke into my house and stole my PS4.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different modalities that are related to it. When you hear the word, pagan and Wiccan, and I got to give a shout out to CW Penny here in Newfoundland and Labrador, who's coming out with our own first pagan festival very soon. And CW, yeah, he was on a show. I want to say it was season 1. I'll have to look it up and let you know. But yeah, have you ever been to any of his markets?
I have been to them in the past, yeah. I've been to Geeks and Freaks a couple times. I
Yeah,
was a Dolphin reader there.
he does horror con and all that too. Oh, here he is. He was in season 2, episode 9. Yeah, and
Nice.
he also does stuff at Fog Fest and whatnot with Shane Mills and them. But tell me more about Salty Sea Witchery. Is there any other things that you do at your markets? I know we talked about the coins and we talked about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so as I said, I do sell spell jars with different intentions. I give people little cords to put them on when they buy them based on what color they want. What else do I sell? I sell witchy stickers that I order. I sell
So, yeah, where do you source most of your stuff from? Is it from the Emporium or all around Newfoundland and Labrador or international?
Well, when it comes to the gemstone beads, I generally get them from a place like Michael's or an online store. I try to find them for a good price so that I can give customers the best price that I can while also not cheating myself.
Right? Yeah, and yeah, there's so many different places where you can source all of this stuff. I don't know, I've had some folks on the show before who, sell items. I know we had talked about, East Coast, but there's, some out in Central too. Saved by a Spell,
I love
Chantelle.
Saved by a Spell.
Yeah, they were on the show also. And
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
she does
we're
a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, she does. So, yeah, she was on season 2, episode 21. Chantelle Galinski, Saved by a Spell out in Carbonear. And you can get her
Nice.
stuff also on Etsy.
Wonderful.
So, where else do you get your stuff? And I heard you say you use natural stuff that you collect, the sea glass and stuff like that.
I get the sea glass all over any beach that I can find it.
Sometimes it's so hard to find, though, right?
It depends on where you look. It's hard to find around the city.
It is, yeah. You almost got
But
to go.
I'm from Lamelline, Newfoundland, which is down at the bottom of the boot.
Oh, and
So
the boot for
if
the
you go
people
there,
listening internationally, if you look at a map of Newfoundland and Labrador, there literally is a place on the, I guess you call it more south coast, right? Of a place that looks like a boot in the Buren area that she's talking about, because we do have a lot of international listeners.
yeah, yeah, it literally looks like a fisherman's boat.
And there was pirates down there too back in the day who wore boots.
Ooh.
So down around there is a good spot on the beaches to get them.
Yeah. So in Lamelline, there's this old place where I would go call. I mean, it's not really called anything, is it? It's down Muddy Hole, which is, it's a very rural area, and so the names are just kind of made up. But there used to be a sort of harbor down there where they had boats, and when the tide is low, you could go on this rocky beach, and sometimes you'll find some really nice pieces of sea glass down there.
Do you use urchins and like live stuff or stuff that washes up besides that?
I do collect shells. I don't generally collect urchins. It just depends on how easily I can clean them, really.
Right? Yeah. So tell us more about different stuff that Salty Sea Witchery does. How do people go about finding you if they want help, or do you just have people come and ask for readings?
So essentially, what I've had happen, and generally these are not things that I do, but I've had people ask me if I teach classes on tarot. I've had people ask me if I do one-on-one teaching. I've had people ask me if I do spell jars before I started selling them. And then I was like, I mean, I had them before and they didn't really sell, so I didn't think they were gonna sell. And then turns out I was wrong.
So
So
they want to learn how to make them.
they want to learn how to do tarot for themselves. And they also, some people do look for like actual spell jars to help them out with like certain things.
Gotcha. Yep. So they like to find certain spell jars. And how hard are these things to find? Like what type of spell jars would you see most or a lot of people using?
Um, I think everybody does theirs a bit differently. I know herbs are very common. Most people like to use fresh stuff. Like I've heard of witches that grow their own herbs and use those for things like kitchen witchery and making oils and stuff like that. I don't use fresh stuff, I generally use the stuff that you get in the spice jars.
Right. So what do you guys, what do a lot of people use the oils for?
Oh, there are lots of things. It's like stress relief. It can be um, for peace of mind. It can be for worry. It can be for cleansing. It can be for pain relief. Like, there's just so many different things you can use them for because there are so many different ones. I do know that I personally use oil to dress candles sometimes, and dressing candles is essentially just covering it in oil and then rolling it around in the herbs you're planning to use in the spell. And that's what you call dressing the candle.
Right. And then it just makes it smell better, like a incense
Oh,
kind of thing.
yeah. Spells smell amazing.
So it's like perfume. Like, remember you were talking about when you were a kid, you like perfumes and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I loved mixing different perfumes and creating my own.
What kind of scents were your favorite ones? Like lavender or
I mean, I don't know if I remember specifically which ones I used. I would just steal stuff from my grandmother's collection and start mixing them together.
start mixing them up. Well, folks, if you want to find Rose Martin and her Salty Sea Witchery, where might they find you, Rose?
Well, they can find me on Facebook. That is probably one of the easiest social medias to interact with me on. They can find me by email. I have a Gmail account, which is just saltyseawitchery@gmail.com. I also have a link tree with those links provided, and that is also Salty Sea Witchery. Basically, if it's if you're trying to find me, all you have to do is type in Salty Sea Witchery, all one word, no spaces, no underscores.
Okay, and I'll put the link to your link tree in the description so folks can find you. And is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off? And the
Just that
markets, you said that you were at the out around the Bay markets. Any other markets or places that people would find you locally?
sometimes I am at the Hump Day Market, which is a night market that happens every Wednesday. I go
And
there around once a month right now.
where is that located?
That's at the old Metro bus place, the one that they used to use, but it is now used as the farmers market.
There you go. That's a good tourism place to go if you're a tourist and you want to go somewhere. Try out the Hump Day Market. And what other markets
Yep.
are you at?
I'm also going to be at the Renaissance Fair at the end of August. That's starting August 24th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
That's going to be
Darren
super fun.
Hann.
I'm
Yeah.
going to have a whole, like, sort of outdoor storefront with my coven, and I'm going to be doing readings there. My coven members that run the business, Pretty Kitty Coven, is going to be selling spell components and stuff like that because they have a kind of apothecary setup, but they also sell things like spell jars and spells and stuff. Um, Tied Up is going to be there. That is a business that sells corsets. Um, we did have that member in our coven, but she passed away last
Oh,
December.
I'm sorry.
So we try to honor her as much as we can with like everything we do now. We try to include her in our spells, and we still have her in our group chat, even though she, well, can't contribute to it anymore.
Right, yeah.
And, we're always thinking about her.
Yeah, it's like putting that extra shot of whiskey on the fireplace for pop or something, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I gotta get a shout out for sure to the Renaissance Festival and, Darren Hann, he was actually on, season 2, episode 26. So,
Lovely.
yeah, everybody check out the Renaissance Festival with Darren, and, of course, we mentioned some other ones with CW over at the Pagan Festival and the Hump Day Market. They're all over the place. Come and visit Newfoundland and Labrador. come and check out Rose Martin and her Salty Sea Witchery. Thanks so much again, Rose, for being on the show today. We really appreciate having you on.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Everybody go check out Rose at the markets.